She had been born in Carnarvon in Wales on November 5, 1834. No one is left there now who remembers Anna Harriet, the daughter of Thomas Maxwell Crawford and his wife, but half a world away, in one of the strangest and loveliest cities of Asia, she is remembered still. Carnarvon was a good place to begin life, a clean town with narrow, regular streets. There was a fresh wind from the sea, and ships coming and going in the blue and spacious bay. On a summer evening, it was pleasant to walk out along the terrace at the north end of the city wall and watch the sun go down in a paradise of clouds back of the Anglesey hills. On the opposite side of the town crouched Mount Snowdon brooding over it. Storms roared down its rocky defiles in winter, and in the spring a child could pick snowdrops and pale primroses at its foot. There was much in that countryside to remind one of the heroic past, remains of encampments, lines of circumvallation, fortresses, castles, cromlechs, abbeys. Into this land the ancient Britons had retreated before successive invaders. The Romans had never fully subjugated them for all the many garrisons they had kept on Welsh soil. One of the most powerful of these military stations was still clearly visible hardly half a mile from town, Sigonsham, now only a shadow of vanished pomp. From there Suetonius Paulinus had set out with his cohorts to exterminate the Druids at the command of the Emperor Claudius. The Druids were fanatic lovers of their country's freedom and the uncompromising foes of Roman rule. The stern general had fed the bearded priests to their own altar fires, cut down the sacred oaks draped with mistletoe, and destroyed all visible evidence of the faith except the cromlechs, these round altars of sacrifice, and the huge sepulchres of the dead called carneths. But the Romans had not stamped the love of freedom out of Welsh hearts. Nor could the English do that through the centuries that followed, not even in the 13th century, when they drove Llewellyn ap Griffith foot by foot back to the mountain holds, where, deserted by his friends and betrayed by his confederates, he perished alone, last of his race to hold the sceptre of Cymru. The city walls, which Edward I had built to secure his conquest, were little changed in the 19th century, although the castle of Carnarvon, his seal of triumph on defeated Wales, was crumbling into dust. 100 years ago in Carnarvon, people still talked of these things and of others. They talked of Dyn Sillawy, where a double circle of stones was believed to be King Arthur's Round Table. They talked also of Pont Aberglaslyn on the Beddgelert Road, which it was whispered the devil had built in return for the soul of the first one to pass over it, and how the wily villagers had driven a dog across the bridge when it was finished, and so kept their bargain and cheated the Dark One. Reared in this land of elf and merlin, it was not strange that Anna Harriet Crawford remembered vividly all her life how as a child she had posted letters in trees to fairies and wood spirits and had received the most flattering replies. Nor was it strange that she carried away from it, through the years, a profound love of freedom, a deep religious faith, a courage and a pride that never deserted her. She was only 6 years old when her parents sailed for India. Captain Crawford and his regiment had been ordered to reinforce the troops there, in the face of the impending war. His little daughter was left with a relative who conducted a school for girls. She was not quite 7 when this relative, Mrs. Walpole, called her to the parlour, and taking her gently into plump arms, told her that her father had died a soldier's death in that faraway country where he had gone to serve the Queen. In the most delightful of all Indian months, the cool month of November, in the year 1849, a steamer came to anchor in the harbour of Bombay, bringing Anna Harriet Crawford among its passengers. She was 15, fresh from school, and eager to rejoin her mother, who had married again. The sun shone through the mists of early dawn as the young girl looked from her cabin window with mingled curiosity and wonder. She was a pretty girl, small-boned and delicate in appearance, with brown eyes and wavy brown hair parted in the middle. In the foreground she saw the stone quays and the great flight of stone steps along the waterfront. Beyond were strange shapes of temples, Hindu, Parsi, Jain, and Mohammedan. The remains of old Maratha forts,